I started the website back in 2009, the broadcast in 2010. We've done so many different shows on so many different subjects. And here in the new year, I'm looking for new ways, interesting ways to try to connect with the audience, to have conversations, to get input, to give input, to interact. And so I've started working with some software called OBS Studio. I was looking at Wirecast, but it's so expensive for what it does. And, I'm not a rich man. And so I'm dinking with the software. I'm learning it as I go. And someone told me I should do a channel on Twitch because they saw this clip that I had done of me playing Alien Isolation on PS4, my son-in-law's PS4. I died horribly. It's awesome. You can find the clip on my YouTube channel or on Facebook. And so people are like, oh, shit, that's awesome. We like watching Seth die horribly. Let's see if he'll get a Twitch channel. Well, I may do it. In fact, I found on Stream, there's a Jesus video game. You can play as Jesus, the man, Jesus, I think Jesus the teenager, or you can be baby Jesus. How that game works, I don't know. It's like an old school NES platform. And you just walk around, walk up to people, hit the enter key, and then these chat boxes show up. And so anyway, people are like, oh, you should play a game. And I'm humiliated and embarrassed already because I'm horrible. Anybody with any real skill at 21st century video games would just mock me. I play just a little bit for fun to relax, but I'm not a gamer, which is probably the reason people want to see it. They just want to see me perish over and over and scream at the screen. So anyway, I'm thinking about it, just some new. Natalie calls it bubblegum for the brain. Like we all have hobbies and distractions. We all have things that we do that sort of give us a reprieve from the inbox. And so, I don't know, are you interested in that? Are you totally interested in some kind of live stream of, it wouldn't really necessarily be religious video games. I like adventure games. I love good, well-made horror films. And so I enjoy horror games. I'm playing one I just started called The Enemy Within, mastering the controls and not very well. And then I just ordered another one. What was it called? It's supposed to arrive. Let's see, when's it coming? Wait, that's for the PS4. So these are all PC games. I ordered on Amazon, and it should arrive today, a game called Outlast. Anybody played Outlast? Anyway, it's a horror game. I was impressed by the trailer. I'll die horribly, but if you find that kind of thing entertaining, I might send it out there and allow my death and humiliation to be your entertainment, that kind of thing. Speaking of Alien, I saw, as published in Nerdist, it's like I don't know if he built the environment or if he modified an already existing game environment, but it's an homage to James Cameron, his classic, the 1986 sequel to Ridley Scott's Alien, which was Aliens, of course, one of my favorite films. It hasn't aged hugely well, but back in the day, this film was it, and it's still masterfully made. Well, this guy did like a 15-minute roller coaster ride, virtual roller coaster ride through Alien, through environments in Alien, and he added music from the films and voiceovers and whatnot. I'll see if I can go to my split screen and show you what I've been looking at. This guy, and there's a little bit of audio with it too. Hopefully it's not too loud, but he takes you through the environment. Detail everywhere. It's very impressive. It takes me back to 1986 when I saw it in the theater at the Eaton Square, Tulsa, Oklahoma, right? There are no jump scares. It's not a story. It's just environments. I'll let it play for just another minute. Motion detector sound wigs me out. And I think there are some more exciting segments, whatever. There's no people in it. There are no characters. You see representations of an alien, but you don't actually get attacked. It's just an environment thing. I mean, it's pretty impressive. I don't know how long it took the guy to do this, but anyway, that's what I've been doing with my spare time. We actually have a larger television back here, and so I cranked it up and turned the lights off, and I was a kid again. So anyway, if you're interested, it's called Aliens: The Ride Planet Coaster on YouTube. It released 4 days ago. The channel is, make sure I get this to you, Hinnyaa, Hinnyaa, published the 6th of January, 2018. And I guess the channel is called Planet Coaster. I know you can look for that. So anyway, I don't know what's going on in your world, whatever it is you want to talk about. I'm planning a broadcast. I may regret this next week. We're going to talk about this fervor over Oprah Winfrey and whether or not she should run for president in 2020. And this is a minefield because there's a lot about Oprah Winfrey that I truly admire. I mean, this is someone who came from abject poverty and abuse and just a horrible story. And she overcame. And, she overcame gender barriers, overcame race barriers, overcame financial barriers. She just clawed through all of that to become one of the greatest success stories in history. And so, there's a lot I like about Oprah Winfrey, but when I see Oprah for president, I posted this on social media, which is what spawned the idea for a broadcast, which I've considered calling Noprah 2020. It's that she, over the past decades, has been a promoter of woo, right? I mean, she's the one that propelled Dr. Oz to popularity, and Tom Cruise, the Scientologist, is bouncing around on her couch. She's had Suzanne Summers, who's had some bizarre health advice and diet advice and life advice. Jenny McCarthy, the anti-vaxxer. And these are just a small sampling of the things that were promoted via her show. And this wasn't like Crossfire, where she brings these people on and she starts to challenge them. In many ways, in many instances, she propped them up and promoted them and made them more popular. And she was just glowing and fawning all over them. Well, I consider, especially in McCarthy's case, when it comes to vaccines, this is a public safety issue. We're talking about the safety of children. There's a lot of anti-science woo that has just come out of her show, out of her platform. And I would like to see somebody who is not promoting woo and anti-science and all this craziness. I'd like to see somebody more grounded. I don't think we need a celebrity per se. Anyway, I don't want to spill too many of the beans in advance, but I'm going to do, I think, a show next week on this. What is your opinion? What do you think? In fact, I've got a card or a poll out there that says, do you think Oprah would be a good president? The answers are yes, no, I don't know, anything's better than Trump, or it isn't going to matter. And I'm sure they're going to run the gamut. Many people are going to be like, it's not going to make any difference who's in there. The damage is already done. The system itself is broken. Other people think, great, she's fantastic. She would be, pro-people, if nothing else, and outward focused. And there are yet others who say she's just another example of the problem, the rich and powerful sort of owning the dialogue. So what do you think about that? If you have an opinion, a position on that, you can be a part of the show. I think I'm going to record the first portion of it, at least on Google Hangout, which will be another video thing that we do. And so just let me know. And I'm looking here at the comments section as I'm going through this phenomenon of speaking to you while also monitoring what's happening in the chat room. And what am I seeing? She might be a good TV host, but a politician, ? Oprah would be an interesting president. My dog is running in the background. Yes, he is. He's my mascot. In fact, do you want a close-up? Henry, come here, buddy. Come here, pal. This is my son, with whom I am well pleased. Henry was rescued 4 years ago in March after the Humane Society discovered that he was part of a puppy mills where they take a lot of dogs and put them in horrible conditions, and they just breed them and breed them and breed them for cash. And they were trying to breed small dogs, and they had 103 dogs in a mobile home. They were living in 4 inches of feces on the ground, walking in it, malnourished. Many of them couldn't see because the fur had grown over their head or the fur was matted. One dog had had its leg wrapped around an electrical cord of a lamp and had cut off the circulation to the point where after the rescue, the dog's leg had to be amputated. It was just a horrible story. And the Humane Society went in and rescued. And all the dogs survived. And they went on the news and they said, look, we're overwhelmed. We need homes, loving homes for these animals. And we were looking for a companion for Rat Dog. And so we went up there and we picked him up. I mean, we'd been there looking for a while, and we picked him up, and the hair was all over his face. If there's a video on YouTube, it's called Saving Number 90, which was the number that was on his collar, and the hair was grown over his face, so he couldn't even see. He couldn't even see you. His claws were all grown out and curled over. He was malnourished. You could feel his rib cage. His fur was all coarse and in bad shape. It was just, and he just looked glazed over. And so, we went in and took him home and cleaned him up, and he has become one of the great joys of my life. And so quite often he either sits in my lap while I'm doing the weekly broadcast. Not uncommon to have him here in my lap, or he's got a little dog bed, a little blanket with paws all over it that that's his spot, and he'll sit in. And then whenever he hears a garage door or the cat's out there making noise, he'll walk around, and you can sometimes see him in the background. So forgive me if you've heard Henry's story 1,000 times before. I'm that guy. I'm the guy who, I like animals more than I like many people. And I love people, but when it comes to my kids, I am a total pushover. I'm actually planning to go to Chicago. I was going to take him with me to Chicago. That didn't work out, but the Cognitive Dissonance guys are working on their 400th broadcast, and they have asked me to come and be a part of that celebratory event, show number 400, and I'm honored. So I'm going to hop on a plane, going to go to Chicago. I was going to try to bring Natalie, and then I would bring Henry and Rat Dog, and we'd all make it like a long weekend in Chicago, and we find a pet-friendly hotel, which is a pain in the ass. You ever tried to do that? And if you find them, some of these places are crazy. It's like $100 per dog per night. Oh, who can afford that? And then to put them on a plane was expensive. And, so we just decided Nat would stay here with the kiddos, and I'll make it a whirlwind trip. That show, by the way, with Cognitive Dissonance should broadcast in early February. So if you're a CogDiss fan, look for it. And if you don't know who those guys are, they're friends. They're tremendous guys. And I think you'd love what they do and how they do it. So you can look it up, support them on Patreon, do all that stuff. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to put you down, baby, okay? If he spins in circles, his whole life's walking in circles. I think it's because maybe he was in such an enclosed space that's just his habit. But he's just circles. They're how he communicates, beyond the occasional bark. If he has to go to the bathroom, he does small circles. We can, rush him outside. If he's excited, he runs, and he runs in a circle, clockwise. If he is nervous, he walks in kind of a medium circle, and he has this glazed look on us. Walking in circles is how he communicates. So I'll be looking. Help me look in the background. If he's doing small circles, somebody tell me. I'm going to rush downstairs and put him outside. Patreon. I had a big dust up with their fee change that they had proposed in December, and of course everybody flipped out because it's just a stupid idea. And I'm not going to get into the specifics of it, but I thought I was doing a favor when I switched my Patreon model over to a monthly, and instead it just became a nightmare. When Patreon came to its senses, decided to pull the plug on all these changes, and here I am. I'd already proactively tried to get in front of it, and it was just a nightmare. So I think I'm about 15% down on donations because of all the switching and moving around, and I totally understand that. But to those who do support me on Patreon, it really does mean a lot that you stuck with me through all this. And for those who do feel like you get benefit from the broadcast and the channel and the videos and all the content and all the stuff, the speeches, all that stuff, you can support me on patreon.com/Seth Andrews, and you can just choose how you want that to look. Your amounts, monthly cap, so you're not surprised. It means a lot. So Let's see. Anything else on the chat room before I move on to the next line item here? This is an interesting way to broadcast. It's not great for me because I'm not a great multitasker. Maybe that's just because I'm a guy. I have a hard time. It's like, and I have to stop. It's like when I'm in the kitchen. Let's say I'm cooking dinner, and Natalie, she walks in and she starts to speak to me. I have to stop and look at her and give her my full attention because I can't do two things at the same time. If I'm on the phone and someone else talks to me, I just literally spontaneously combust. I can't take it. Why is the door in the background so narrow? It's a closet door. I got a lot of gear in there that I take with me on the road when I'm shooting video. I'm hoping to get Hemant Mehta on video. Of course, the cognitive dissonance guys, I'm hoping to get an interview with them very soon. Kendall says, hey, Seth. Kendall, thank you so much for being a part of the broadcast today. Let's see. YouTube has taken upon itself to screw me out of one of my channels. A lot of people are leaving YouTube because YouTube has changed its monetization settings. The short version of that is apparently to be approved, automatically approved for monetization, to have ads which feed and help provide revenue for content creators. Apparently, you have to only post things about kittens and cooking and makeup tips or something, because almost everything else that goes up, you get a notification within 24 hours that says, YouTube has decided that this is not friendly to advertisers, and they'll pull all your ads. And then you have to go through an appeals process, which is a nightmare. I mean, because everything you post now, you have to appeal. And certainly on an atheist channel, it's very much the case. I mean, the word atheist in there, boom. I'm automatically declared it's not friendly for advertisers. And this is some algorithm, some program, something. It's not people that are making the initial decision. So what I've decided to do is, for much of this stuff, I actually have to upload it a couple of days in advance, get the rejection from YouTube, file an appeal, wait till the appeal is approved, and most of them actually are. And then, only then, do I click live or go public. Only then do I actually release the content. But it adds all these extra steps. What a pain in the ass. And I don't know where YouTube's revenue is going. I don't understand why they would hamstring so many people the way they have. Alif has asked when I'm coming to Chicago. I'm actually going to be there in 2 weeks. I'm flying out 2 weeks from tomorrow, January 25th. I'm going to fly in. We're going to have a session with the Cog Disc guys that night to record the show. I'm going to have lunch with Hemant Mehta of The Friendly Atheist, maybe see a couple of sites, fly back on Saturday. And, Chicago in freaking January. You know what I'm saying? I mean, how bad is it? How cold is it? How windy is it? I mean, it's chilly here, but they say this is hardcore. And so I'm waiting. I'm sure I'm going to get off the plane and just turn into I'm just going to freeze like those guys in Days After Tomorrow. They just froze in midair. Yeah, that's what's going to happen to me. Michael, that's going to get you banned, my friend. A targeted attack from legacy media that slandered. Was it? I can't imagine it was one content creator that caused YouTube to make this shift. But I'd like to look into that. I'd like to find out more. Nothing planned overseas, no overseas travel, which, I mean, I'd like to be able to do that, but it's just hard. Is he still walking around in the background? Are they small circles? Are you making small circles, pal? Let's see. It's not going to be a bad weekend. You don't know what's the weather going to be in 2 weeks is the question. So, no, I don't censor. I think if someone uses the N-word, though, I don't have to abide that on my channel. Sorry, I just don't. I don't like it. I don't find it appropriate. There's no reason. There's no excuse for it. I think we can and should be better than that, and I get to determine the temperature of the page itself. But agree, disagree, argue. I mean, it's rare that anyone gets blocked or banned, but occasionally it will happen. it will happen because there are just some toxic people out there, and what they want to do is be toxic. Let me switch over here to my live dashboard. Okay. It's the internet. You're always going to have a lowest common denominator. And I realize that's the case with chat rooms. Without having a full-time chat moderator, this is a little more difficult, so it's something I may have to address in future broadcasts. So, what else? Anybody else with anything? I've seen cartoons with a voice similar to mine. I've never done cartoon voiceovers. I don't do advertising, really. I haven't done FM radio in a long time, nor have I worked for ad agencies or production companies in several years. If you hear, this happens because radio guys tend to have kind of a similar diction. They have a similar way of speaking. And so, you get thousands upon thousands of guys who are doing these voiceovers. You may hear one similar to mine. I'm sure it's not me. And just assume it's not me. The only thing recently that I've done that is not part of my channel was I did the audiobook for the Kafir Project audiobook on audible.com, but I'm not doing anything besides my own broadcast. So, I thought I blocked him. Hang on just a second. Okay. One thing at a time. Planning Georgia. I may do a tour in the South coming up later this year. I had a huge amount of success on the tour we did. We went to, I was in Mobile, Alabama. We did New Orleans. We were in Memphis. And it's amazing, these people who, they're surrounded by Jesus. I mean, Jesus everywhere. And you talk about a kind of biblical illiteracy. I mean, these are people who don't even know why they believe, except mom and dad believed it. You think it's bad here in Oklahoma. You go to Atlanta, you go into the Georgia, South Carolina, you go into Tennessee, you get into Alabama. I mean, you find that these people are just, you can't even speak in a rational, reasonable way. And it's a visceral response when they see and hear the word atheist. So you got people who are terrified of losing their jobs. You got people who are terrified of losing their families, their spouses, their kids. And so we would hold these events. Say Seth Andrews is going to come and do a speech or whatever. And these people just come out of the woodwork, and it was like it's like prohibition. And we'd all gotten together to enjoy a drink somewhere. You know what I'm saying? It's like they all snuck in the door and took off their fake mustaches and, all their hats and disguises. And they're like, whew, now we get to be who we are for an hour and a half. And then we would hang out. And then, they would go back to the rest of their lives, hoping that nobody notices yet. They're just not ready yet. It's Jesus Town here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But if you live in, Mobile, Alabama, that's a whole extra level of Jesus-ness that I can imagine how difficult it would be. I guess, I've covered most of what I'm going to cover. You tell me in the chat, has this been it's a positive thing? Is it a nice distraction? I kind of miss the back and forth with callers in this regard. Is it the kind of thing where you'd want to do more of these, where we're sort of allowing the chat to flow unfiltered here, relatively unfiltered here on screen, or would you want something else? Just take a look here. Stop being an atheist. Do you have advice for someone who is agnostic but really an atheist but won't accept it? Well, if they're agnostic, they're an atheist, I think. Like, if you don't know, you don't hold a belief. So you're an atheist. If you want to use the term agnostic, or if they do, that's fine with me. It doesn't make any difference. I don't get hung up on semantics. I've heard some people say that agnostics are cowards, atheists with no balls, and I don't buy that at all. And I think it's uselessly toxic language. It's divisive language. If they want to be agnostic, or call it agnosticism. But if you don't yet hold a belief because you don't know, you're an atheist. Let's see. You would recommend using slow chat mode. What exactly does slow chat mode do? Everything is seen, but it's on some kind of a delay? Or when I finish the broadcast, those who have not yet sort of been revealed on screen, will those just get cut off? How do you slow a real-time chat screen? I'd be interested in that. Your voice is as smooth as butter. You're very kind. A Discord server? I don't know anything about Discord. I'll have to do some research on it. Colorado, look, I don't have a tour schedule for the new year. I don't know Bart Ehrman. I'm familiar with Bart. I've tried to get him on the show, and he's just not taken the bait. And I'm an admirer of much of his work. I think he's a little smug when he is addressed with, claims about mythicism. And I don't know that I'm a mythicist, but, there's a lot of his stuff I found hugely helpful. The book Jesus Interrupted is a fantastic tool by Ehrman. Joe Rogan, I do not know. I'd love a chance to chat with him. I mean, his style is a little more acerbic than mine, but he'd be an interesting guy to talk to. I'd love to be on his show. I'd like to be on his show just for the exposure, be able to get out and try to reach some new people, bring in some new audience members, get the word out. Reason Rally, yes, there will be another one. It will be held in 2020. They have a different management team that's handling it, and it's going to be, I think, a different and probably healthier vibe. I don't know if you'll ever reach the heights of the 2012 Reason Rally because it was such a novel event, and I think it's hard to do a once-in-a-lifetime event every 4 years. But I'm always about opportunities to get together and celebrate time together and promote secularism and rationalism and the rejection of the belief in magic and gods and monsters, So I'll be there, when it happens, but I don't have any details on it yet. Tell us about the keyboard in the background. Oh, yeah, I debated whether or not to even leave that, but it's kind of where it is furniture-wise in my room, so it just ends up on camera. I play by ear. I play piano a little bit, some keys by ear. I played a segment of something I was working on for my patrons last month, one of the holiday shows. And I'm not quite finished with it, but if you're interested, you will maybe hear. I may actually release the full song. I mean, it's not like I'm going to release it officially anywhere. It's just I do it as an exercise. So, but I play to relax. I play as a creative exercise. As a producer, I enjoy it. And, the Yamaha motif allows you to do much more than just playing piano. You get a chance to, to layer different sounds, whether it's piano, strings, horns, percussion. And it's like an alchemy. You're really, it's almost like being in the editing room producing a video or audio piece. You are, layering things together, experimenting with timing and flow. And so when I get this piece done, see if we can find a name for it. Maybe I'll stick it on one of the podcasts. If it's not too self-serving, if it's not, the kind of thing where people are like, Jesus, that's playing his own stuff. But if you're genuinely interested, I'll include it in one of the shows here when it's done, maybe February or March. But yeah, this is just something I do for fun. It's something I do to relax. And I think everybody needs that. Natalie says I'm a workaholic. Because I love what I do so much, I'm always doing it. So, I come in here, and before this, now it's dinner time. I come back up afterwards. I'm conducting an interview. I've got this. I'm going to write that. I've got all of these things. Weekends don't exist for me. I'm always producing. And she's like, you've got to unplug. And another thing is this. I am sometimes a slave to this. And I'm working on it this year, but it's one of those things where if I have a moment of downtime, habitually bring it up, and I'm just checking everything, checking all the Twitter and Facebook and social media and email, and checking the YouTube comment, just making sure everything's good. And before you know it, I mean, you're a slave. So I'm trying to unplug a little more. I'm trying to express myself creatively in other ways. And so anyway, that's what the keyboard is about. Forgive the long answer. Let's see. I guess I'll look at 2 or 3 more, and if nothing else of interest pops up, if you don't believe in God, you're worshiping Satan. And the comment section really is a potpourri, is it not? You know, it shines and it whines. I'm going to call it. I appreciate you guys listening and watching. I'll see what I can do with this video clip. If it's, if it looks relatively interesting in post, I'll come back and release it for the audience. And they'll have something extra to stick in the background as they do whatever they do with the rest of their day. If you have an opinion on the Oprah thing, drop me an email, would you? Oprah for president. And don't speak to me in bumper stickers, okay? I'm not looking for snark. I want to know, would you support it, especially in the context of today's administration? Would you support it? Is there a better choice? And specifically, what are your concerns or reasons for support? And if you want to send those, the email is podcast@thethinkingatheist.com. And I'll be, perusing those. We'll use some of the more relevant ones for the broadcast, which I think is going to air on Tuesday of next week. So it's been a pleasure. Appreciate you listening. Appreciate you watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.